Hello, welcome back. Thank you, as always, for joining me. And especially thank you for your dedication and commitment to your practice, whatever that may look like. Whether you are studying and practicing this course all by itself or in conjunction with other traditions or whatever it is that you're doing, it is your dedication and commitment to your spiritual practice that is the best and highest form of offering you could make anyone, anywhere, anytime. So I thank you for that. And you're pursuing this. You're listening to the voice of our inner teacher, or you would not be here, where this is pretty much all we talk about. So thank you for tuning in. Let's say a few words today about how simple and yet how profound and radical, if you want to call it radical, revolutionary, if you want to call it revolutionary, mind blowing, if you want to call it mind blowing, let's say a few words about this course and the message of A Course in Miracles, which, as you may have gathered, is very profound. As I've often said here, you deserve nothing less. So, what studying and practicing this course involves is when you really allow yourself to think about it so profound that it's mind blowing. I mean, it really can be because we're conditioned here in the world to limit ourselves so dramatically that when we begin to glimpse our own limitlessness, it can be a real eye opener in every sense of the word. I mean, it can. It can be a shock to the system even to hear these basic ideas. And they're all simple ideas. The reason that the course is over 1,000 pages when you take the three major components of it, as well as the two supplements, is that as adult learners, we need to hear things in different ways. We need to hear what is essentially the same idea in at least 25 to 30 different ways on different days. And we need to hear that self same idea again and again and again and again. So we have a document when put together that's quite large. The essential points are not very long at all. They're so simple that in our daily lives, we overlook them. We're simply so carried away with everything here in the world that we busy ourselves with that we don't notice what's right in front of us. We don't even notice who we really are. We think we're something else, and we act accordingly. And we run around and run around believing we're individuals and attacking. We think we're an ego, and therefore we think everyone else is an ego, and we think we're in competition with one another. And we invent systems here in the world so that we see nothing but competition. That we call it economics. For starters, we parse out our experience into various component parts, multiple component parts, including nation states and political divisions and subdivisions. And we engage in competition and conflict with one another. And we are apt, based on our conditioning, to simply throw up our hands and say, that's just the way it is. No, it's not. We've made it up. So the power and the profundity of this is you can unmake it. We've made up this entire world. God did not make this spinning ball of rock and all of our psychodrama. We did that on our own. He did not do that. So if you have ever asked yourself why God would create suffering and set up his most beloved son for repeated failure, he would not and did not. That's impossible. One of the very profound ideas here in A Course in Miracles is the notion that there is no separation of any kind. There is only perfect oneness. God is. All of our divisions in life, including the big and obvious ones, including political boundaries, things like that, are all artificial. I mean, what is a nation state but an assemblage of lines that someone drew on a map or a group of old dudes drew on a map, sometimes hundreds of years ago? It's artificial, isn't it? It's an idea. That's what a country is an idea. And we're not used to thinking of things as ideas because we think that it's so concrete. We're convinced that this physical body is us. It is not us. The Son of God is in no way limited, so it certainly isn't limited to a limited shelf life inside a semi-permeable membrane, the constitution of which is about 80% water. This isn't you. You know this, or you would not be here. So, what do I mean by that? If you're just tuning in, is that the call of our inner teacher goes out to every single one of us at all times. The question, are we listening? Our inner teacher is the Holy Spirit, Jesus. Call your inner teacher whatever you want to call it. And you could rightly use whatever pronoun you want, because the Holy Spirit is not a person. The Holy Spirit is part of our mind, singular mind, part of our mind that will remind us of who and what and where we are, if only we'll allow it to do so. Our guide, our teacher. So, under the guidance of our teacher, we learn to see things as they really are. Now, it looks like there is a sphere that we call a planet. We call the planet Earth, and it's spinning, 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 and wobbling on its axis. We think that this is where we are. We think that this is where we are. We think an artificially drawn boundary on a piece of paper that people named a map is where we are. That's not where we are. Yet the world shows us otherwise, and we choose to believe it. Here's the deal, and how this course is so profound. We made this. Hmm. Our mind is so powerful that whatever we invite in, we end up seeing. It becomes our experience. It's that powerful. We invite something, and of course, we expect that. Why? Because in our power of mind, we've invited it. So it's coming, it's here. What we invite, we expect, and we see what we expect. So, what are you inviting? Let's start with that premise. And the solution is very simple: invite love, invite peace. This invitation is not subject to 8 billion choices or more. There is only one choice, and in this one choice, there are exactly two options, and only two: love or fear, God or the ego, light or dark, truth or illusion, life or death. I mean, characterize that however you wish. We choose one or the other. Everything else that we experience in our multitudinous experiences here in the world, which pass for our lives, everything else is a derivative of this one choice. So, have you ever paused to consider what would happen if you chose love? Really, what would happen if you were to choose love repeatedly, again and again, habitually, developing a habit of it? What then? Well, if you've begun to do this, you know full well what then. If you have not, I invite you to try it. But as always, to really try it. Who we are, really, truly, as the Son of God, cannot be harmed, cannot be killed, cannot be tainted or stained or bludgeoned in any way. We're perfectly safe and at home where we've always been, in God. Like extends like. So this should help to answer the question: who, what, and where are you? Should you ever have that question enter your mind. And you know what the answer is. We all know. Do we allow ourselves to go there? Who we are is completely safe, healed, and whole, limitless, joyful, loving, and unassailable, invulnerable, deathless, can't be killed. We struggle because thinking that we're an individual, we attack this truth all the time. We attack, attack, attack. We define and defend personal territory from this physical body is me. Didn't you know that? It's me, 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 me. And we define our physical territory in other ways too, like our house. This is my house. This is my fenced enclosure. This is my artificially drawn border hundreds of years ago by a bunch of dudes in white wigs. I mean, when you begin to perceive the emptiness of the world, radical things begin to happen. It's an invitation to look at it and to take these ideas to heart. We do nothing but attack and attack, and we're surprised that we're not awakened. Einstein's definition of insanity clearly applies here to our spiritual practice. If we do the same thing, attack, 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 draw one division after another, separation, 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 if we do this over and over and over again, we're going to get further separation. Why? What we invite, separation, we expect separation. What we see is separation. Let's invite perfect oneness instead. Then, inviting perfect oneness, what do we expect? Perfect oneness. What do we see? Perfect oneness. Yes, it works like that. We're invited to make a choice here. This definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And we're literally surprised that we are not fully awake, enlightened, whatever you want to call it, in God. We're surprised that we're not. Yet we've been attacking all of the time. So, isn't it time to give up the attack? Because that is where the solution lies. When we side for the ego, we lose sight of what's true. We literally make an exchange between what is real and what's not. We choose to see what's not real. And then what this course refers to as the real world, in other words, the world forgiven, is invisible to us. We can't see who we are or what our brother is when we choose to see separation. And the word to focus on here, this operative word, is choose. Yes, it is in your power. This is radical. It's revolutionary. You have the power to see things as they really are. That's the goal of A Course in Miracles, for us to right our perception, to turn it right side up, because it's clearly upside down. Or if you're not sure if it's clearly upside down, then I invite you to think about it, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting full awakening as a result of attacking your brother, judging, condemning, blaming, judging, attacking, blaming, condemning yourself, because the two are one and the same. After all, there is no separation of any kind. If you're doing that, give that some thought, because we all catch ourselves here in moments. We all have moments. And in fact, you may be having one of those right now. And if you're not, that's fantastic. Great. You'll have one later today or this evening. And it may be the very next time that you pick up your cell phone and begin to scroll your social media feed. I mean, it may be just as soon as that, even sooner, because a thought may enter your mind about how someone annoys you. And it happens all of the time. Happily for us, there is a teacher, a bridge, if you want to call it that, a way for us to return, in a manner of speaking, home. We've never left, actually. We've never left our source, capital S. Yet when we think we have, it's meaningful for us to choose God. It's meaningful for us to choose truth instead of illusion. The Holy Spirit guides us in that. And accepting the guidance of the Holy Spirit is how we do this. The Holy Spirit is the way to remember. We've simply forgotten, we've chosen to forget who we are. And deep down, we all want to remember. We all want the peace of God. That drives every single living thing. Whether they would admit that or not, they may actively deny that. In fact, we all know people who do. And we've all spent time actively denying that, or we would not appear in this shape. We wouldn't appear to be here. We would not indeed be having this conversation because it would be completely unnecessary. So let's render this conversation completely unnecessary. How? Accept the guidance of your inner teacher and forgive under your inner teacher's guidance. Clarify your perception when your perception is fully and completely right side up, when it's fully and completely clarified. With this true perception, we see things just as they are. From there, awakening naturally takes place. This true perception is so akin to who and what we really are that it's easily translated into the knowledge of God. Knowledge. We simply know. So we undertake what appears to be a daily practice, an hourly or even by the minute, by the second practice of remembering. And should you feel that you need help, that's perfectly valid because we all do on the path. That's why this video series exists as a supplement to your learning, as a support for you on your way, on the path. And we only call it a way, a path, a walk. We're not actually going anywhere. But let's use that visual image because it's what we're working with here. So along the way, you have tremendous help available, not just from this series of videos. More importantly, you have the guidance, the loving guidance of your inner teacher. So I invite you to appeal to this, to allow the love of the Holy Spirit to pervade everything that you do. This is what we refer to in spirituality as getting out of our own way. Recognizing that we've only gotten in our own way and we continue to do so. How can we tell? Well, we don't experience the peace of God and nothing else. And nothing else. Stuff bothers us. That is an opportunity for true forgiveness. So, my hope here in offering these words is that you begin to really get how powerful you are. I really would love it if you got that, how powerful you really are, and how profound this tool is that you have sought out or that you've stumbled upon that has found you. Because this is the way this course works. It kind of finds us, doesn't it? This is true of anything that's meant to happen in our lives. It just sort of pops up as though it was seeking us out the entire time and not the other way around. Even if we feel like it was the other way around, this material has found you for a reason. So I thank you for tuning in to it. And I really invite you to take these conversations to heart. My purpose in doing this is to help you along the way, to supplement your learning and to serve as a guide. We all have the guidance of our inner teacher first and foremost. And along the way, your inner teacher can take many forms, like this one. When something lands for you, it is the Holy Spirit speaking to you. Know that. And please take comfort in that. All right. Along the way, of course, as a guide, questions are more than welcome. If you have them, please feel welcome to leave them. And thank you to all of you who have. My intention here is to use this comment thread right here on YouTube as a dialogue opportunity. So if you have questions or comments, please feel welcome to leave them. And I'm more than happy, as I did in the last recording, about why aren't more people interested in ACIM anyway? If you haven't watched that, that was the very most recent recording. I invite you to do that. That was in response to a question from one of you, and I'm always willing to do this, to take a pause out of our procession through the text of A Course in Miracles to address what's really coming up for you live. That's part of the benefit of this video series, is to ask questions. So if you've got them, I welcome them. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do that. This is the subscription prompt here in the corner of your screen. Click that arrow, hover over that, and you'll be invited to join us. Now, for those of you who have subscribed, there is always, of course, the option to turn on notifications to be notified of when a new video comes out on your YouTube channel. It takes the form of a bell, which it will prompt you to set your notifications, and you can, should you wish, be notified of every new video that comes out in this series. So that's the bell icon on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, that's what that thing is. So I thank you, as always, for joining me here. And again, as always, for your dedication and commitment to your spiritual practice, because it is oh so important. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon.